Early summer 2022. When Ukraine first rolled out the FV-103 Spartan armoured carriers, almost no one paid attention. No headlines, no hype, just a quiet delivery of what many experts dismissed as outdated scrap. Most analysts agreed these vehicles wouldn't change anything. They were old. Britain had already phased them out over a decade earlier. Compared to modern Russian armour, the Spartans looked crude. But fast forward nearly 4 years and the story flips. What started as roughly 35 vehicles has grown to nearly 220 on the battlefield, and shockingly, fewer than 40 have been confirmed destroyed. That's a survival rate pushing past 80%, right alongside some of the most advanced Western systems. So what happened? How did something written off as crude suddenly become one of Ukraine's most reliable battlefield tools? Let's break it down. The Spartan wasn't built to dominate fights. Back in the late 1970s, it was designed for one simple job: move small specialist teams quickly across dangerous terrain. To do that, British engineers stripped it down. Lightweight aluminium armour, minimal protection, just enough to stop smaller rounds and shrapnel, but nothing heavier. A direct hit from modern anti-tank weapons? Game over. It carried a tiny squad, about 4 troops plus crew, and had just a single machine gun for defence. No serious firepower, no heavy armour, no fancy tech. On paper, it was obsolete, especially compared to vehicles like Ukraine's BTR-3, the American M113, or the heavily armed Bradley. So why did Ukraine want more? Because they saw something everyone else missed. In a war dominated by drones, artillery, and constant surveillance, being heavily armoured isn't always an advantage. It can actually make you a bigger, slower target. Ukraine didn't try to turn the Spartan into a tank. They turned it into something smarter. A high-speed, low-profile, armoured taxi. The mission was simple: get in fast, stay unseen, drop troops, get out. No prolonged fighting, no unnecessary exposure. And this is where the Spartan shines. It's small, narrow, easy to hide. It can reach speeds over 65 miles per hour on open ground, covering massive distances before enemy drones can react. And because it's so light, it moves through mud that would trap heavier vehicles like tanks or Bradleys. In eastern Ukraine's thick, sticky soil, that's a massive advantage. There are even reports of soldiers stepping off the vehicle and sinking into mud, while the Spartan kept moving without a problem. Then there's survivability. Ironically, its lack of heavy armour helped. Since it was never meant to withstand major hits, Ukrainian crews focused on avoiding detection altogether, using camouflage, anti-drone netting, and stealth tactics. Some Spartans were even upgraded with heavy machine guns and grenade launchers, turning them into mobile support units. Others stayed stripped down for speed. But the real magic? Simplicity. When a Spartan breaks down, crews fix it right there in the field. No complex electronics, no specialized tools, no waiting days for repairs. Compare that to modern vehicles like the Bradley, which often require dedicated facilities and trained technicians. In a war where time equals survival, that difference is everything. And then there's cost. One modern infantry vehicle can cost over $4 million. A refurbished Spartan? Around $60,000. That means for the price of one advanced vehicle, Ukraine could deploy nearly 90 Spartans. Even if each Spartan is less powerful individually, the sheer numbers and flexibility change the equation completely. More vehicles, more missions, more options. And that's exactly what this war demands. Because this isn't a clean, high-tech battlefield. It's a grinding, attritional fight where drones swarm the skies, artillery never stops, and survival depends on speed, adaptability, and constant improvisation. In that environment, the Spartan fits perfectly. Not because it's advanced, but because it's practical. Today, entire Ukrainian units have built tactics around it, using it for rapid assaults, evacuations, and high-risk operations where heavier vehicles would struggle. What was once considered crude is now essential. And it raises a bigger question. If Ukraine can do this with decades-old vehicles, what would happen if they had full access to modern NATO equipment at scale? That's a conversation still unfolding, but one thing is clear. This war isn't being won by the most advanced machines. It's being shaped by how well those machines are used. And sometimes, the simplest tools end up making the biggest difference. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, because the next story might be even more surprising.